So the recording started, and we'll just count down and run with it. So we're going to be 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hey, it's Harland Merriam here. I'm with David Kamara, and David and I have gotten to know each other over the last 8, 9 months now. We meet with some others every couple of weeks, and we're both in real estate. We have different backgrounds that bring us here. And David comes from a background both in computer science and also in industry and in consulting with people that are in industry. And David lives up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and is married and kids in elementary, middle, and high school. David, good to see you today. Fill in that just a bit, if you will.
Yeah, good to see you, Harlan. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, so I came to this country when I was 17, came to study in Michigan, and just ended up in computer science. My dad's a doctor, and I was hoping to be a doctor, but realized as a foreign student that takes a lot more money than I had. Got out with a computer science degree, worked for a company in Chicago, industrial distributor. Did some more school while I was there, did business school and liberal arts school. Ended up in consulting, got a very interesting career in management consulting and travel, and worked for various businesses and helped them make good money. And my wife and I had 4 kids. And at some point, the travel just became a bit too much. I was very well compensated professional, but just wasn't seeing my kids as much as I would have liked. And we started investing in single family. And we had those properties working, and my wife and I one day just said, we should probably give this a closer look and try to scale up. So that's what we did, and it's been working really well.
Yeah, so you've moved into multifamily like we have also, and both for your own benefit, but you're also one that's out there to help others either be active investors or others that really would like to get a return on their investment without having to put a lot of work into it, like you do the work.
That's right. So the way that this started for us was really, my wife and I just started by buying a few properties for ourselves and just trying to get me to travel less and be home. At that point, I was already working for myself. I had my own consulting business, but again, I was traveling excessively still. So we bought 4 or so projects, 4 or so properties to start, which was just shy of 200 units. And I mean, I was just very excited. I was still talking to clients and telling them about what we were doing. And they said, listen, we actually want to hear more about this because we understand the benefits of real estate. We just never wanted to deal with tenants or trash or any of that. So why don't we invest with you, right? And so it was very kind of organic, and we had to take a step back and say, well, we never really intended that, but let's think about it. It probably makes sense to diversify into more properties and put our money into more properties, just smaller chunks of it. So that's how that started.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say to people that maybe don't have the time or the interest to be full-time? I mean, you're a full-time real estate investor now. You're not a W-2 anymore, or even consultant in that sense. What would you say to people that want to be more passive in it, but generate a good return, get the other benefits, the tax benefits, and some other benefits out of it? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say that it's definitely much more accessible, right? And you don't have to necessarily stop what you're doing and go learn real estate if you don't want to do that. There are many very credible and shrewd operators that you can partner with. And I would say this too, like, don't give all your money to one person. Do a little bit here, see how it works, ask a lot of questions, right? And I mean, the biggest thing about the whole real estate space, really, I guess, even if we take a step back, is it's all about kind of the incentives that the US government has set up, right? The incentive is, if you take out the right amount of debt or the right kind of debt, right? Not consumer debt based on buying a flashy new car or that kind of stuff. If you take out debt where you're helping the government provide good housing in this country, right? This is a again, I was born in Ukraine, so I can say this, the types of housing that you have where it's all run by the government is not very good. And I think the US government recognized that. And so it wants people to do that. So essentially, real estate investors are incentivized from a tax perspective to provide this housing for people. And so the long and short of it, there's massive advantages from a tax perspective to both passive and active investors. And so I think that's the one thing that people don't really think about or don't understand as to how this is set up. So yeah, I would definitely say partner with a syndicator, an operator, a sponsor. Those are all interchangeable terms. And you can ask a lot of questions and maybe partner with different people who invest in different geographies, maybe different property classes, B, C, A classes. But learn a little bit. And again, don't cash out your IRA or your stock portfolio. But frankly, the returns in real estate are better if you really study it, because you get those tax advantages with your stock portfolio. Yes, you make a good return. You're not really factoring in your capital gain tax or any of that stuff. So I would say definitely when I speak to people, my approach is to not say you need to not invest in stocks or any of these other types of investments. What I try to open people's eyes to is just the opportunity of this asset class and just try it out and see how you like it.
Yeah, and you said two things there, David. One is this is accessible, and there are a number of people out there that don't think it is available to them. Their friends aren't doing it. They haven't thought about it. They just think I need to buy mutual funds or something. So it's accessible. And the other is you're just really encouraging people to diversify, which is a tremendous thing for us to learn to do with our investments anyway. And one of the things you said is even diversify with different operators.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
in business school, that's all they teach you is diversification. Investment portfolio theory is all about diversification and kind of gauging your alpha and your beta, which is your return and your risk, right?
Mhm.
So I think one of the things, I mean, I studied this excessively before I kind of went into real estate. As a consultant, you're kind of taught to look at the numbers, and I'm very mathematically inclined. So I did a lot of work on this. But really, if you think about over time, the various asset classes, and I have this in my little thing that I wrote, the personal cash flow formula, but I kind of went through a bunch of different asset classes. The risk adjusted return for multifamily real estate specifically is much higher, right? If you think about how the asset class fared in the 2008, 2009 period versus really most other asset classes, there were just very few defaults and rents kept on rising, even though, yes, they took a slight dip or a slight plateau, but people kept paying rent, right? And even through this pandemic, one thing that we see is, again, multifamily real estate has done extremely well because people need a place to live, right? And even though hotels haven't done well and retail hasn't done well and office space is kind of really run out of style, people still need a place to live. And I think I saw a headline just today, actually, that there's like something like 8 million leases that expect to be signed within the next 6 months or so, just because there's a tremendous wave of new household formation that's coming online, right? Because as we emerge from this global pandemic, hopefully, it appears that people are more willing to go out and move out of their parents' basements and actually start families and start living in apartments.
Yeah, David, you have a lot of wisdom and a depth to it, and one that's you've studied this and you practice it, and you bring also a lot of just integrity to it as well. We've gotten to know each other. There are several others in our group that we meet every other week. I really appreciate this. How can people get in touch with you if they wanted to follow up with you, David?
The best way to reach me is at my website or my email. My email is david@capesierracapital.com. It's CAPESIERRA capital.com. You can also check out my free ebook, which is the personal cash flow formula. And that's, again, capesierracapital.com/cashflow. And I kind of go through my journey there. I did start investing in stocks just like everybody else, and was fortunate enough to do pretty well in it. But I eventually got out of stocks because, I mean, for me, it wasn't something I could live on, right? And you take that portfolio out, you no longer get the dividends, you no longer get the returns. And with real estate, the one thing that I think people don't realize as well is you get that cash flow component. So that's
Yes.
really,
Yep.
really important.
So they can get in touch with you, and we'll put something here when we get this video out to people where they'll see your website and that, and that ebook that you've written is very, very good, and I encourage people to look at it as well. David, this has been great. We do these short ones. These are not long ones. We just do some short ones to get out to our investors here, and we appreciate that you gave us some time this afternoon from up there in Michigan, and I'm in Florida, and we got people in California and around that we keep in touch with. Great to be with you today. I look forward to I think we meet again next Tuesday in our group together. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Harlan. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Harlan.
Yep, this has
Great,
been
great.
good. This has been good. I appreciate it.